Berlin Raceway highlights are brought to you by ProTech Heating and Cooling. September 5th and 6th was a double-header weekend featuring the Pro Late Models, Metal Cover Unlimited Late Models, Baker Auto Group Sportsman, and the Auto Value 4-cylinders all in action.
The first race of the weekend on Friday night. Scott Baker taking the lead early on the Sportsman Series as they went 40 laps. Mo Davis, though, brought out the first caution on lap number 4 as he spun in turn number 1. Baker would take the lead on the ensuing restart, but a big wreck happened just a few laps later with Brian Tillema, Braden Cook, Ray Van Allsburg, all suffering heavy damage. Tillema and Cook would be done for the night. Ryan Holtzlander would jump around Baker on the lead on the restart. However, Tim DeVos would catch up to him on lap number 23 to take the lead. A competition yellow came out with just 10 laps to go. However, it would not stop Tim DeVos as he would come around for this 114th win of the season. Josh Fry finished second, Ryan Holtzlander finished third, Kevin Ford finished fourth, and Brian Tomey rounded out the top 5.
Four cylinders for next for their extended feature is Hunter Weersma from the early lead at lap number 1. He would head up to lap number 5 until Justin Roloffs, your points leader, would get around. From there, even after the competition yellow, it was all the 22. Justin Roloffs puts a cushion on his points lead and he goes back to victory lane one more time. Dennis Holtzlander third would finish second. Chase Roloffs third, Hunter Weersma fourth, and Mike Speed would round out the top 5.
Then it was time for the limited late models to go 40 laps. The front row of Scott Root and Tim DeVos brought out some possibilities for some fireworks, but Scott Root was able to get around the winningest driver with ease. He would lead all the way to lap 17 when Bob List went around and Eric Merchant ran into him. That brought out the lone caution of the race, as on the ensuing restart, Scott Root was able to hold off Tim Green and Nick DeLongpre to take home his second win of the season. DeLongpre finished second, Green finished third, Josh Fry finished fourth, while Billy Epic rounded out the top 5.
The Pro Late Model non-winners race 75-lap main event was the final feature of Friday evening. It was Sam Johnson leading the first 6 laps until a hard-charging Chase Berta in the 24 car was able to get around, and from there, competition yellow break halfway through, but it was all Berta. He would lead 69 of the 75 laps to get his first feature win ever at Berlin Raceway. Chase Berta to victory lane for the first time. Brian Bergaker comes home second, Sam Johnson third, Steve Needles fourth, and Barrett Pohemus would round out the top 5.
Then it was time for the racing on Saturday. The limited late models kicked things off with their second 40-lap feature of the weekend. Denny Anderson would lead the first 20 laps of the race before the first competition caution came out on lap number 20. Just a couple laps later, Josh Fry would spin around, bringing out the second caution of the race. On the ensuing restart, Denny Anderson would get out in front, but however, not long after that, Nick DeLongpre, Tim Green, and Mike Root all spun with Green and Root going off the backstretch. All 3 cars, though, were able to continue. On the ensuing restart, more trouble as the 66 of Eric Merchant spun around. That brought out another caution flag. Denny Anderson would get a great jump on the restart. However, with just 13 laps to go, Root would get spun by Alan Davis. That would bring out the final caution of the night. Denny Anderson would get a good jump on the restart and never look back. He led all 40 laps of the veteran driver, taking home his second win of the season. Alan Davis finishes second, Tim Green finishes third, Mike Root finishes fourth, while Josh Fry rounded out the top 5.
The Sportsman 40-lap main event was up next, and it would be Scott Baker leading the first 6 laps until contact from the fast qualifier Tim DeVos, Scott Baker. Contact on the front row. DeVos goes hard into the turn 1 wall. DeVos, not a happy camper, as the all-time winner at Berlin Raceway would have to call it quits at lap number 6. Then Josh Fry was able to grab the lead from Tomey, who had inherited it just 2 laps before, putting Josh Fry, your point leader, at the point. Competition yellow at lap number 20, and upon the restart, Brian Tomey was able to snag the lead back away from Josh Fry, grabbing the lead at lap number 21. From there, more side-by-side battles between Tomey and Ford until Kevin Ford was able to sneak around with just 7 laps to go, and a hard-charging Kevin Ford would go to victory lane for the 4th time of the season. Brian Tomey settles for second, Tom Thomas third, Josh Fry fourth, and Ryan Holtzlander would round out the top 5.
Then it was time for the main event of the weekend. Battle of the Pros, 150 laps, $12,000 on the line. Dylan Stovall started on the front row and would lead the first 50 laps of the race before the first competition caution. On the ensuing restart, though, Evan Shocko, the fast qualifier, jumped out in front, and he would lead all the way just 7 laps later when Andrew Scheid spun around on the backstretch, bringing out another caution flag. Not long after the green flag dropped once again, it was Justin Thomas spinning on his own in turn number 3. Shocko would get the good lead on the restart, but on lap number 70, Max Steinhorst cuts a tire, hits the turn 3 wall hard, ending his night. Shocko would get the lead once again on the restart over Trayton Lipsovich and would lead all the way to the last competition caution with 50 laps to go. After everyone got a fresh couple of tires on their cars, it was Trayton Lipsovich, the Canadian, jumping out ahead of Evan Shocko. He would lead the next 34 laps before Shocko would track him down and make the pass with 16 to go. The last bit of drama came when Scott Thomas spun on the front stretch with just 9 laps remaining in the race. A good battle with Lepsovich and Shocko going side by side for a couple of laps was won by Coopersville's own, as Shocko would move on ahead of Lepsovich and go all the way to the checkered flag for $12,000 and his first win at Berlin Raceway since May of last year. Lepsovich would finish second, Tyler Lupton finished third, Tyler Reisinger finished fourth, while Dylan Stovall rounded out the top 5.
Up next at Berlin Raceway, it's the final racing event of the 2025 season. Saturday, September 13th, it is the Chet Championship weekend with all divisions racing, sportsmen, 4 cylinders, limited late models, super late models, and the Reveal the Hammer Outlaw Series, all packed in for one final night of racing at Berlin on its 75th year. More details at berlinraceway.com.
Live video coverage provided by Cinerific.